Hey, what's up, and welcome to Movie Dumpster Season 5, Episode 5. Today we're talking about Alligator from 1980, directed by Lewis Teague. I'm Joe Lascola.
And I'm Sean O'Rourke.
Welcome to the Dumpster. So, Alligator.
Yeah.
We've been talking about this a lot on the show over the past 4 years, and we're finally here.
I if you go back on some of those old episodes, we've probably said, hey, we should do Alligator like 20 times, and then finally the Blu-ray came out, and it's like, hey.
We've always touched on it, and you know, this movie, obviously it's come out on VHS, and I believe MGM released the DVD of it, and this new Blu-ray from Shout Factory has been long time coming, and it is packed to the gills with goodness.
I see that it's a 3-disc set from my viewpoint.
Oh, yeah. So there's the 4K Blu-ray, and then there's the theatrical cut of the film, and then the second disc is the television version of the film, which we'll get into.
I didn't even know that was a thing.
Yeah. Now, we're not going to be reviewing the television version. We are going to just touch on it briefly.
Okay. I'm ready for it, Joe. I want to know what the hell they cut out of this movie. Or added, maybe.
Well, again, like I don't want to dive too deep into what was changed and stuff because it is a whole different cut.
Oh, wow, wow.
There are full scenes that are just not present or extended or changed or what have you.
That makes me think. I wonder if that's the version I saw as a kid.
Probably, and there's a reason for that.
Okay.
So before we get into talking about the disc, I just want to talk a little bit about Lewis Teague in general. And he's done a ton of stuff, dude. He worked with Roger Corman a lot. So there's a lot of Roger Corman tie-ins with the director and even some of the actors and the writers for this movie.
I was noticing that myself as I was looking through the IMDb's.
And even the special effects, really. We'll talk about it. But yeah, so Lewis Teague does Lady in Red and Cujo. And Cat's Eye.
Never saw Cat's Eye.
Which you haven't seen?
No, I love Cujo. Cujo is very good.
Yeah.
But Cat's Eye, I missed that one.
Cujo's great. Cat's Eye is really good. Our friend is in that movie.
Daniel Baldwin?
No.
John Hurt?
No.
Just lay it on me.
James Woods, baby. It's Quitters Inc. I believe there's like fucking 4 different smoking anthology shows and or movies of like somebody trying to quit and like somebody, you know, some kind of weird sci-fi thing happening. Like there's a Tales from the Darkside episode we're gonna get to.
Okay.
But yeah, it's you know, it's good. It's an anthology movie. Drew Barrymore's in it. One of my favorite segments is the troll one at the end where it all ties back. Like the cat goes through each story. It's called Cat's Eye.
Okay.
Baron Harkonnen is in the second segment where he has this guy walk around a building like on a ledge.
It sounds pretty intense.
It's fucking great. Baron Harkonnen, from the David Lynch version.
I'm just picturing any version, to be perfectly honest. Just that character is so disgusting.
By the way, shameless plug, go check out Dune, the best Dune movie over on Hack the Movies. We're not going to do that every time, but I know that it's fresh. It was in the beginning of this week, so it's definitely going to be coming out.
And while we're chilling, you mentioned it, Tales from the fucking Darkside.
Oh, it's coming back. Talks from the Darkside with its triumphant return. I believe our first episode. You should have 2 episodes in the pocket now.
I think it might already be out.
Oh, yeah. Oh, but there should be 2 episodes out right now. Right? Yeah.
That sounds about right. We talk about it in that first episode. Go check it out. It's in the description of this video. And if you're listening to this, check it out on the YouTube channel or listen to it, whatever your preference is.
How about both? That sounds
there you
good,
go.
right?
One in the car, one at home.
Like, subscribe, rate 5 stars.
And
pretty simple if you like the show. He also so Lewis Teague also directs this film called Collision Course. It's Pat Morita and fucking Jay Leno in a buddy cop movie. So I've never seen it, but it looks amazing. It's like the original Rush Hour, dude. That's what it feels like. Except it's Jay Leno.
You know what's interesting, just real quick about Pat Morita, and if people at home don't know who Pat Morita is, he was the guy that owned the restaurant, I think Arnold in Happy Days. He's obviously Mr. Miyagi from Karate Kid. Yeah. A ton of stuff. If you look up old stand-up that he did, like from like the 50s.
He was a comedian?
Yes.
Get out of town.
His accent is fake. He does not have an Asian accent.
You're blowing my
Look
fucking
it up.
mind,
Look
dude.
it up. I don't know.
It's a hoax. It's all been a hoax.
It makes me think like, look at old stand-up of Brad Garrett. He's another
Okay.
one. His voice changed.
Well,
But
think about like Gilbert Gottfried does the same shit, you know?
Interesting. Anyway, sign me up for Pat Morita. I hate Jay Leno, and I'm there for
Me
that.
too,
I'm
but-
there just for Morita.
That is something that like we need to cover because it's ridiculous.
Yeah, that sounds perfect.
He also does a movie called Wedlock with Rutger Hauer, and I believe there's this prison, and Rutger Hauer's a prisoner, but he has like this necklace or this neck band that he
It's like a bomb or something?
no, I don't know if it's a bomb, but like there's like money attached to some other woman who has it's like electronically linked or some shit. I don't really know too much about it, but I've never even heard of it. So I was like, oh shit, I want to check that out for sure.
I mean, it's Rutger Hauer, sure.
Well, yeah. So this movie is written by John Sayles.
Should I know that name?
You should.
Because I don't!
He's written Piranha. He wrote The Lady in Red with Lewis Teague. He did with him. And The Howling, the Joe Dante classic.
Oh, got you.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
I
So,
was wondering why you're wearing a werewolf shirt.
well,
I said that really weird.
Werewolf.
Ugh.
Yeah, he wrote The Howling. It's fucking great, man. And like, he is just he can really blend like this. For all intents and purposes, this is a stupid. This should be just a stupid monster movie, right? But when I think about these films, like this is like top tier how these films should be made. Because like, yes, there's a killer alligator in it, and it's gigantic and it's genetically altered, but all the stories surrounding it are really well written and well done, well acted, and it's great.
I would generally agree. I have a couple nitpicks as we get through the review
Sure.
I'll mention, but yeah, it's the story is solid as hell in
Yeah,
this.
it's just written really well, better than it had any right to be. I feel like, and I think that's why it's held up so well.
Especially, is this a Corman production?
No.
Okay, I was gonna say, I know like you have a near and dear spot for Mr. Corman. I don't hate the guy. I've enjoyed some of his movies, but typically if it's a Corman film, I'm a little nervous going into
Well,
it.
Corman's launched so many people's careers, and so
yeah.
many people like worked under him or with him.
Lewis Teague, apparently.
Yeah, Lewis Teague did the Avalanche. He did with all. He also did that with Robert Forster as well. That was Roger Corman produced for sure.
I read that he did the actual Avalanche sequence in that
Yeah.
film, and I saw that he was also an editor for Corman, like you were saying, did
Yeah.
multiple odd jobs. So he
Mhm.
wasn't just a one-trick pony.
No, and you know that's kind of how he got his start. And Alligator was like his big jump off. I have a little bit more on Lewis Teague a little bit later, but
Okay.
because I want to talk about the Shouts discs.
Oh, okay.
And like all the special features that are on there. I'm not going to go too heavy on it because we want, you should totally pick the disc up, but I want to talk a little bit about it because I was very happy and indulging in all of the behind the scenes stuff for this film because it's awesome.
I'm very happy to hear that because, some of these DVDs, Shout is very good at this, Shout Factory, of putting all those extra features, but
Yep.
some DVDs, or Blu-rays, you get like, well, where are the special features? Oh, it's just a trailer.
Oh, big time. Yeah. I hate that shit.
Yeah.
So he's also written, what else did he write? He also wrote Wild Thing. I wanted to note this because this is a movie that my wife turned me on to.
Mhm.
And it's basically like urban Tarzan. This guy's parent, like it's like Batman, but instead of becoming Batman, like after his parents die, he becomes like a feral slum child.
Okay.
And he ends up like he's like a protector of New York, kind of. He like saves this woman or some shit. It looks bonkers. I've never seen it, but my wife says it's great, so I definitely want to check it out.
The short plot crunch you just gave me sounded pretty good.
It looks crazy. He also wrote and directed a movie called Lone Star, which I've seen. If you've been in the video store, you've probably seen this fucking cover a million times. It's like this badge with the skull on it. I remember seeing it a lot in the 90s, and we might have to cover it because, again, he's a fantastic writer. I'm sure the movie's great. I've never saw it, but Matthew McConaughey's in it, and it takes place in Texas. So
it's happening.
We're gonna fucking do that. What is that movie called again? A Lone Star. You ever see Lone Star? It's a great film. That Lewis Teague's real good.
I'm not even gonna try to compete with that accent. Maybe we'll circle back around on
Come
that.
on, Lewis.
It's too good, Joe. It's too fucking good.
There's also another guy credited, Frank Roy Perilli. Perilli? Frank Roy Perilli. And I don't know if he contributed to the comedy aspect of the script, but he used to write for Don Rickles.
Oh, okay.
And he's also credited as, writing the screenplay.
Like Punch It Up, maybe.
Yeah, but
because Robert Forster has some great one-liners.
Yeah,
in this movie.
but John Sayles wrote the majority of the script. I think he wrote it on like a plane ride or some shit. If I'm getting that right, he was like coming back from Japan or something and was like writing the screenplay on the plane, and they just like, here you go, Lou.
Probably like an 18-hour flight or something like that.
Yeah.
Like, fuck it.
So that brings us to the Shout Blu-ray. They just put this out. It's what did it came the 22nd of this month. I think I got it
right as of this recording. It was like a week or two ago
of February of 2022. It just came out. It's still hot. I can touch it. It's fresh off the press.
Don't burn your hands.
No. They released Alligator 1 and Alligator 2: The Mutation, which we'll talk about briefly.
Okay.
But I want to do something special with that too, because I'm glad that that's finally on Blu-ray.
I've never seen it. I've seen this one before, but never saw the sequel. Heard good things. So.
Oh yeah. Well, it's a giant movie about an alligator. I don't. It's nowhere near as good as the first one, but it's fun.
Okay.
So this Shout Blue is packed to the gills. They did not skimp on anything in this. They put it. It's the most comprehensive disc I think we're ever going to need of this, right? It's got the 4K restoration, it's got the 4K disc, it's got the theatrical cut, it's got the TV version, like I said, and it's got a bunch of great special features produced by Mike Flesher's Red Shirt Pictures and Justin Beam's Reverend Entertainment. They always do an excellent job on all of their special features and stuff. If you're looking for a camera guy or anything, give me a shout.
Hit the man up.
So I was watching all the special features, and I'm kind of going to jump around a little bit here. Bryan Cranston does a interview on this.
Okay.
So this was one of the first big films that Bryan Cranston was ever a part of. So he was a production assistant on this film.
We talking about like Bryan Cranston from like Breaking Bad and Malcolm in the Middle?
Yes.
What?
Yeah. And it's a really sweet story. I don't want to go too deep into it because it's a great interview and you should watch it and you should buy the fucking Blu-ray and watch it. But he talks about being a production assistant on this and working in the effects department, and he made the blood and all the guts and stuff that they stuffed the big alligator with that explodes at the end. Spoilers. But he has this great story where he meets Robert Forster on the van that's like taking them to the shoot for the day, and like he has this interaction. It was like a life-changing thing for Bryan Cranston. And then of course they met up again much later on Breaking Bad.
I know, I was gonna say that's kind of funny that Robert Forster's character is so minor. He's literally in like 2 episodes towards the end of the series, but I wonder if that had any, like if Vince Gilligan's like, God, we need this cleaner character. If you know what I'm talking about. It's late series shit, so I ain't gonna spoil it. But yeah, he's like in 2 episodes, he's like one of those people that like resets your identity. You could give him like a ton of money.
Right, gotcha.
Man, I really love Robert Forster.
Dude, Robert Forster is so amazing. And the way that Bryan Cranston interview goes is it's just really heartwarming, and there's something about it. Like, here's this force of an actor talking about another guy who pretty much like steered him in his direction of how he thinks a production should run, and like just to be a good person. And he, one of the things he mentions in the beginning of that interview is like everybody's a cog in the production, whether you're, because he's like the assistant to the assistant to the assistant's assistant. Right? He's like so down low in the totem pole, but like all the cogs of production need to all spin and work at the same time. And the way that everybody needs to work together, and if everybody's in it and works hard and loves what they're doing, like, you're gonna get a good product. But if you don't, it might not turn out so great. So like that might sound like fucking common sense to a lot of people, you know what I mean? But like, I've seen it firsthand behind the scenes of some things and stuff that I've worked on and stuff. But like, if you're not, if you're constantly headbutting with people or not on the same page, it's going to make for a production that isn't that great. Like, again, this movie is so fucking good, I think, because of those elements. You know what I mean?
Like, it was a well-oiled machine. And I mean, we've covered a lot of movies on the show with bad production, behind-the-scenes stuff. Some we still end up liking, like Mario Brothers comes to mind.
Yeah.
But others, you're right. It's like it just sinks the whole film.
It'll tank the whole thing. And like, well, Mario Brothers was great, but
To us, I know a lot of people don't feel that way.
But it could have been a great movie, and again, like there's just a lot of interference and a lot of not being on the same page, and a lot of changes and all that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's a great interview that's on it. Then of course there's a commentary track. I guess they got it before Robert Forster died, because there's a commentary track of Lewis Teague and Robert Forster doing they commentate the movie.
I need to see that now.
It's fucking great, man. I didn't watch the whole thing because I didn't have enough time to like watch it again with the commentary. Because I was going through all of the special features, and there's a lot of stuff on this.
Yeah. God, I forgot he died. R.I.P. Robert Forster.
Yeah, I know. It's a shame, With great movies he's done, like Uncle Sam.
Oh, the mayor. Oh my God, I forgot. He's already in the MDU, isn't he? Oh.
It's welcome back, Robert Forster, yeah.
It's been a while.
Bill Lustig's Uncle Sam.
Gets blown up with a bunch of fireworks.
He sure does. So we got Robert Short doing makeup effects on this, and we have Richard Helmer him and his team doing the alligator practical effects.
Oh my God.
Putting it all together.
What an amazing job they did.
Man, it is so great. Lewis Teague was talking in the interview portion. He was like, they were going to use this alligator that they used on something else, but then like they went to go use it, and it was so old and brittle and shit, it just like fell apart, and they'd like remake the whole thing, which was a good idea that they should have.
Yeah, a question to you.
Yeah.
There's a couple scenes, and this is like later in the movie that I really was thinking about this, but did they ever use an actual alligator, or was it all that?
No, yeah, well, we'll get to it, but like there's some really excellent miniature work in this, and they use a full-size alligator. Well, not a full-size alligator, it's a baby alligator.
Right.
Or juvenile, rather.
There's a scene towards the end that we'll get to that I was like, holy shit, that looks good.
It looks really good.
I'm like second-guessing myself, is that real?
Yeah.
Like, holy shit.
The marriage, well, we'll get to final thoughts.
Yeah, no, I just mentioned it because you're talking about that, but I was like, oh, wow.
No, totally. The marriage of the practical effects and the real life like miniatures with the real alligator are like, it's great. It all works really well together. So Richard Helmer also worked on Jaws, which is
that
funny.
lines up.
Yeah. He also worked on Tourist Trap and Child's Play, the Power Rangers movie, Reign of Fire, which is another great MDU classic.
Yeah. The McConaughey film.
And Spider-Man 2. Like, so he went on to do a bunch of big shows for sure. I don't know if I need to say this, but like he worked, Kevin Yeager was the head of the department on Child's Play, but he worked under Kevin Yeager.
Got you.
But he's the head on this show for the alligator stuff. And I thought it was funny because Robert Short, the guy who does all the makeup effects, who does like the severed limbs and the cuts and the scrapes or any of the other tertiary effects that they need to do, he takes care of. But I thought it was funny because all of the severed limbs are from Chris Wallace's shop from when he worked on Piranha. Chris Wallace is the guy who made all the Gremlins too.
Oh, okay.
So he's teamed up with Joe Dante a couple times. But again, like it's Chris Wallace's. There's all that crossover in the Corman stuff. You know what I mean? The Corman universe.
the RCU.
Yeah. Also, great interview with Robert Short, because he goes into he has this great story about the opening of the film, but I don't want to spoil it here. Like, buy the disc and let him tell you about it. But yeah, and then just to touch briefly on the TV cut. Again, like I was saying before, there's just like extended scenes and scenes that are completely taken out. There's like this scene. It's almost reminiscent of the It TV series, the Tommy Lee Wallace series, with like this little girl and this little playpen, but it's a fake out. Like, you think that the gator like came through the backyard and like ate her or whatever, but she's like under a basket or something,
like a razorback kind of thing.
Kinda, yeah. And it's like it's part of the TV cut, so that could have been put in for timing, pacing. If other gore stuff was taken out, other sequences were taken out, whatever. Again, this isn't the review of the TV cut of this movie, but yeah,
that might be something interesting to come back to down the road, like in a different format. I don't know.
No, I would love to. So when they sold this movie, so they make the movie and they're going to go to release it, the producers made a deal with ABC to air it for 3 different occasions for $3 million. So the producers were like, yeah, we're not spending any more money putting this in the theaters. So Lewis Teague takes the 35 millimeter print and flies to New York, and then like has a private screening for press and stuff, or like people who want to like throw money in or produce it or whatever. to do that,
Sure.
to release it in theaters, one person shows up from the New York Times and like gives it like a stellar review.
Oh, okay. I thought that was going to be a negative thing at
No.
first.
so they get released, and they released it in one theater in New York on a Wednesday.
Maybe that's all it takes sometimes.
Yeah. So like, so I don't know how long this was in theaters, but or where it eventually ended up, but like it did not get wide theatrical release.
Oh, okay.
So for a long time, it was always on TV too. Yeah. So it sold to ABC, and then they always played the reruns of it. I mean, that's how I first saw this movie. Yeah.
Same.
And just to touch on the second movie, like USA used to fucking play Alligator 2: The Mutation all the time. They would play the movie simultaneously. Now, I think I've seen Alligator. I think I've seen the first movie more, but I seem to remember seeing Alligator 2 like on TV all the time.
It's like one of those ones that just stuck with you.
Yeah, like I can't really recall like they merge together sometimes because I haven't seen the second movie in a long time. I haven't fired it up in a long time, so I'm very excited to visit the Blu-ray disc that Chop just put out too. Dee Wallace is in it.
Okay.
And, I'm sure it's fine.
I mean, Dee Wallace is usually, if she's in a film, it's at least decent, I would say. She's always good.
Oh, yeah, big time. But yeah, you want to just plot crunch this real quick?
Sure.
And we'll talk a little bit about the actual movie.
So basically the setup for this film is a little girl gets a pet alligator at like a side road attraction. And she takes it home, and her dad's an asshole. He hates animals and flushes it down the toilet. And then 12 years later, due to some corrupt fucking scientists, it grows gigantic, the size of a car, like 20 or 30 feet long, before the tail. And it's...
Gotta have the tail. Gotta have the tail.
That was funny how they say that. We'll get to that later. But then it's killing people in the sewers. They don't know what the hell's going on. And eventually just chaos fucking happens. And it's on land. And you have like Robert Forster, like we mentioned, is the main character. He's a cop trying to hunt it down. There's a doctor character. And then, there's a bit of a romance that blooms in the film. And
naturally, though.
Well, sure. And then they hunt it down. And the whole town kind of comes together to try to get this thing. And it's kind of off to the races, especially once this thing's out on land.
Oh, big time.
It's dangerous enough in the sewers, but when it's up top here, it's just, you better get out of its fucking way. And that's basically the movie.
Yeah. So we open up, like Sean said, at this gator farm, Gatorland, TM.
Is that where you got that from? Mm-mm. Or did you get it from some of those vendors that we see in the film?
Yeah. Wait, watch him shake, watch him wiggle. Gatorland glass makes you giggle. Or whatever. No, this I got from a flea market. I guess it's from Florida. Gatorland, Florida.
Now, they are doing gator wrestling here.
Yes.
And as I'm watching this, I was watching it with my wife, and she mentioned that actually is something that Native Americans and indigenous people used to do.
Oh, really?
And she specifically said that it was something that was kind of, stolen from them. But it was, I have an article here I pulled up on Wikipedia. So specifically the Seminole indigenous people, it was kind of like a roadside attraction thing to make money. They would hunt them.
Sure.
And they even have a quote here on Wikipedia. We had to live off whatever Mother Nature provided us in the Everglades. We'd eat the tail, the meaty part. Later on, when the alligator skin had a value, we would hunt and skin the gators and bring the skin to trading posts and trade for things we couldn't grow. And that's from a Seminole tribal councilman, Max Ocelio. I just thought that was kind of interesting because, you're watching the movie, you're just assuming this is like a big goof, like making fun of redneck people that are wrestling with alligators.
No, it's like a big thing. I had no idea that Native Americans had done that.
Me either.
I mean, they had the head, the tail, the whole damn thing,
They didn't fuck around. They ate everything. They used everything. I mean,
I love it.
I thought that was interesting. And then just to get into the actual film version of this, it is very much like that hokey thing. Like, oh, we're fucking with the alligators. I hope they don't get back at me.
So so this dude is wrestling this alligator. He steps and twists his leg, and this thing just latches onto his leg and fucking just does the death roll.
There's 2 or 3 of them going at him.
Well, yeah. Well, there's and then these guys run over and start beating it with sticks and stuff, trying to get it off. And of course, little Marissa's like, "Oh man, I want my own alligator."
Yeah. And since we have a prop here, this is literally what this asshole's doing. He's going around alligators going.
Well, yeah. He's fucking with him.
Yeah, and
it's
then
a show.
Gets the shit fucking chomped out of him, and his leg is like, it looks like chicken or something by the time they save him.
Big time.
So they drag him out. He's crying, and the guy, the MC, is like, "Well, we promised you some alligator wrestling, but sometimes the gators win. Here, go to the gift shop," and they got baby gators for sale. It's pretty great.
Pick one, honey. Which one you want? That one.
I named it Ramón.
What a sweetheart.
I thought she said Ramón at first, and I was like, I look at the credits, and we'll get to that later. Somebody that plays Ramón, and I was like, whoa! Almost fell out of my chair.
Was it for this one?
Yes.
Okay.
It's
all
uncredited, though, so I don't know how much they were in the costume.
They're credited in the second one.
Okay. You might have some ideas who it may be, but we'll get to it. We'll get to it. And then she takes this gator home, this little baby gator, and she's loving it. She's got her little playpen with it. Mom's totally fine with it. She doesn't give a shit.
Yeah.
But like I said in that block crunch, Dad is just some asshole who hates pets. It's gonna shit all over when it gets bigger. Who's cleaning it up? I mean, it is a gator. I guess I kind of get it, but then she's like,
when do you, at what point, how this gator grows, are you going to be like, oh my God, this is too much to take care of? Because right now it's still only this big.
Mhm.
They used to sell these things and be like, oh yeah, it looks like a big gator, but it's not going to get any bigger than that. Okay, so here you go.
Yeah, that's like those mini pigs that don't actually exist.
Yeah, that actually grow into giant full size animals.
All right, that's a mini pig. Shit, it's huge.
Oh, it's beautiful.
But
yeah, her dad starts freaking out, and it's even I've seen this movie a bunch of times, but even in the restored version, you can't exactly hear what the fuck they're arguing about. It's in the other room.
Yeah.
And the mom and dad are like, "Oh, where's that fucking alligator?" He's like, "I'm gonna throw it down the fucking toilet. We'll just tell her that it died like the last one."
Like the hamster.
Yeah, the hamster or whatever.
What an asshole! You're flushing a hamster down the toilet?
Yeah,
what the fuck? We hit him with a butcher knife? What are you doing with
I
that?
don't know. Marissa's at the science fair, and he's pissed off, man.
Foreshadowing.
Anti-science? Maybe.
Well, she may become a scientist later in the film because we see this gator shoot down this pipe into the sewer.
Flushes him right down the toilet.
Going on a goddamn river rafting ride, this gator, and it lands and it's just confused, all right, I'm in the sewer, okay.
I love the score of this movie. It sounds like this bassy synth. Do. It's fucking so good.
It's very good. I will say there's a couple instances where I think it gets a little too close to Jaws, mostly the stalk music that the gator has, but it's I said this before the recording, but it's 2 steps away from Jaws, so I'm fine with it, but there's some obvious Jaws vibes in this film.
Sure. I mean, I disagree.
Sure.
But it also kind of feels like the Twilight Zone, the movie score at some point. They had this violin at the end for some of the more action-y scenes paired with that bassy synth. It's fucking great.
I could see that.
Yeah.
So then we slam cut 12 years later to Robert Forster.
Robert Forster's buying a puppy.
Well, he's got 2 motives here though. He does want the puppy, but he's also investigating the fact that a lot of pets in the neighborhood keep disappearing.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, my dog Snacks, it just disappeared. I went into a store and it was gone. And it's did that really happen? You don't know. I think it did.
Sidney Lassick is the pet shop owner, by the way.
Oh my, this guy. Okay, he's in so many things, but specifically he was in Cuckoo's Nest. He was one of the main characters, and he was in an episode of X-Files playing a disabled man, very similar to that Cuckoo's Nest character. And he's in a ton of other shit too, but he is that guy.
Oh, he's totally that guy.
And he is great for the 20 minutes on screen he's in, if that.
He's like, "Oh, here's your puppy." He's like, "Oh, I see what's going on up here." This is the first time we're introduced because Robert Forster's male pattern baldness is a character in this movie.
Which at first I was like, that's kind of a fucked up thing to just say to a guy, but then it kept coming up. I was like, okay, it's a running joke. Okay, this is good.
So they wrote it into the script because he had just gotten hair plugs.
Hair plugs.
Oh, it does look like
so
that.
That's the goof.
He's a little sensitive
and they
about
just
that
run
joke.
And they just run with the joke throughout the whole film, and it's fucking hilarious.
What a good fucking sport.
Oh,
man.
yeah. Tell me about it. I feel you, Rob. Or Bobby.
No comment.
Well, you got all your fucking hair.
Hence the no comment.
So he basically shakes down Sidney Lassick. Not too bad this time, but he's like, yeah, you heard about all those animals going missing? And he's like, no, I don't know what you're talking about. And he's like, okay, you got any tips of the pup here? And he's like, go leave your shoes off the ground and blah, blah, blah. He's teething. Okay, bye.
Right. And it's that thing too where like Robert Forster, I think his name's like David, something. They say it a bunch, but I just kept saying Robert Forster.
Yeah, David.
I feel like it's part of it is he has an inkling because this guy's shady, but it's more so the guy is more like freaked out.
Oh yeah, because he's the fucking guy capturing all the dogs around town.
How fucked up is this shit, man? I mean, it works out because all these evil assholes get theirs.
Yeah.
But it is like, man, this first like half hour, you're like, oh man, I can't believe how many animals are eating it.
I know. It's also the slow build and like the mystery to this. I mean, we do get some gator shit coming up soon, but like, so Robert Forster leaves and he goes down to the sewage plant because they like dredged a body out of the sewage plant. And there's like a fucking arm and like a leg. And they're like, oh man, this is the second one this week or something like that.
And a big toe?
Well, the guy goes, one time we just found a toe, just a big toe, had a funeral and everything.
Was it Uma Thurman's?
Must have been an awfully small casket, Sean.
It's like the size of this cup that you throw it in and bury it.
Ashes to ashes, toe to toe.
Just goodbye. I don't know. I don't have a good closer for that. You had me.
So he's at this place and he's talking to the cops, and they dredge a dog out too. Now it's been surgically cut open and all of its organs removed and its larynx cut. Right? So,
they really want you to hate these scientists.
Well, the way they do this is great because not only did they find the body, but consequently they found this dog. And the dog, because all the pets are disappearing. So they go outside and, we found a woman whose dog this probably is. So they go out and they open the fucking van and this woman's like, it looks just like Muffy or whatever my dog's name is. And he's like, yeah, this she's really big, but that's gotta be her. And she wore this sweater 2 months ago. It's this little baby sweater. And this dog is like a giant fucking, like I don't even know what, Irish setter?
Yeah.
Not Irish setter, Irish wolfhound.
Oh, okay, yeah. It's huge.
Yeah.
It was clearly a very small dog, like Joe's saying.
Yeah.
She's like, hey, the mole right there, that's his mole. It's exactly the same.
It's got that cute little spot on its ass. It's definitely my dog.
Yeah, and Robert Forster's like, what the fuck? So then his boss comes up to him, Michael Gazzo, by the way, from fucking Godfather 2, the guy who slits his wrists at the end. He's like the big pain in the ass. I think it's like Pennigelli or something like that.
He talks like this, David, there's an alligator. That's a bullshit. There's no alligator.
Michael, I'm not Clemenza, but I'm basically Clemenza because the guy wouldn't come back.
He's got these big eyebrows.
He's kind of a great bit character in this. He's like that stereotypical ballbuster chief, but he also is kind of on Robert's side, which is a little different than you usually see.
Kinda.
I mean, his hands are fucking tied at the end there. I don't totally blame him for what he
always
does.
believed in you, David.
My hands are tied. But he's telling him we gotta make a fucking press conference about this. This is getting kind of crazy.
Oh, big time. So Gutchell Sidney Lassick goes to the lab, and the scientist there, Arthur, is there, and he's been getting all these dogs for this guy. And he's like, oh, the cops are on. I had a cop come in. I almost wet my pants. He was asking about the dogs, and I'm getting real scared. And he's like, shut up. He's like, I need puppies, and I don't want to hear anything about it. He doesn't even offer him more money or anything like that. And he's like, you sure you don't want cats or a parrot or something? He's like, puppies. John, puppies.
Woo, puppies!
It's gotta be puppies.
Oh, Jerry Lawler reference for anybody that
I
cares.
have no idea what that is.
The King, man. WWF's King.
Oh.
Jerry Lawler.
Oh, man, it's puppies.
Yeah,
Oh, my God, puppies.
You're right. It's like, let's think of the most, like, this is already fucked up, but puppies. Let's make it even worse.
Specifically, because they're working on, we don't find out till much later, but they're working on this, like, growth hormone for cows, so we can genetically alter cows because of the food shortage in 1980.
Yeah, I mean, it took him about, another 20 years to start getting the plant-based stuff, but if Alligator was made today, maybe that would be where it goes.
No, I know, and it's like, that's one of the messages of the film, like, don't fuck, with the nature of things, you know what I mean? And, you're injecting this animal with all this stuff, and it grows to, like, proportions that it shouldn't in a small amount of time, you know what I mean? And then what? You gonna fucking eat the meat of that? I don't think so.
Yeah, so then Gutchell, he just kind of leaves. He's going to do it. He's a scumbag. He's not thrilled about it, but he's going to do it.
He folds, he goes, and he puts his little shopping cart into the sewer, the storm drain.
Yeah. You want to just talk about that real quick?
Yeah.
Because, he goes in there with this shopping cart, like Joe just said, full of, like, black garbage bags with dead animals in them.
It's crucial to the plot. That's why I want to talk about it, because
Yeah.
he's been dumping these fucking bodies that have been experimented on for years into the sewer. So he's like opening these garbage bags. This disgusting motherfucker's like pulling them out with his bare hands and like dumping them down into the sewer. And he drops one and it hits like a ledge and gets stuck. So he has to climb down there and push it off.
It's like a husky or something, man. It's a big dog.
He jumps into like the gray water and is like kicking. He's like trying to like kick the dog down the hole, and the fucking gator comes out and just rips him apart.
Oh man, you get this shot a bunch of times in the film.
Oh yeah,
the eyes open. It's great.
The one eye opens and the what is it? The Euclid lenses like flip back. The shit that goes over their eyes for the water.
Yeah. It's great though, because you
underwater.
always get this one area they return to a bunch of times in the film. This like blocked storm drain that has like a shopping cart and dead dogs and all this nasty shit blocking it, and you get the POV shot of the gator as it's coming towards him. He only knows it at the last possible second. Falls backwards, gets eaten alive. So Robert Forster, he's like investigating this after he leaves the power plant or the water plant, whatever you want to call it. And he's talking to like, because they know someone's dead. And they find out this guy went missing or what have you. And he talks to a guy working the sewers. He's like, well, when's the last time you saw this guy?
He's like, oh, we opened up that fucking sewer joint by the old plant there where they make the meds and shit or something.
Right. And that kind of gets him to the next step.
Yeah.
And that's where he goes to the lab.
Yeah, he goes to the lab and he's questioning the guy Arthur, the real scumbag guy, who's like also getting married to Slade. Slade, who owns the company, his daughter.
Yes.
Yeah.
Talk about Slade in a second.
Yeah, we'll do it.
And Robert Forster's asking him like, what do you guys do here? It's real quiet in here. We cut all the larynxes when they come in.
Makes him quiet. And he's like, that's fucked up.
Yeah. And he's like, yeah, how do you handle the animals? Yada, yada. Basically asking him some pretty standard questions. Oh, we don't do this. We don't do that. We're very safe. We're humane.
We put them in our crematory. We're not throwing them down into the sewer and having a giant alligator eat them and mutate into a monster.
It's just like very wishy-washy, and Robert Forster is immediately like suspicious.
He's like that classic, like, corporate scumbag scientist guy.
I mean, I wrote straight up in my notes, fuck this guy.
Well, yeah, sure. You're supposed to hate him.
Yeah, well, clearly.
So he goes to see his future father-in-law in his office.
Dean Yeager! Sorry, had to get it out.
Your methods are sloppy and you're a poor scientist, Mr. Arthur.
Yeah, I couldn't believe that was this guy's name, Dean Yeager.
Oh, man.
I'm sure he's been in a ton of stuff, but my brain goes right to Ghostbusters.
Oh, sure. Hey, Dean Yeager.
Yeah. This guy's also another scum, Arthur's soon-to-be father-in-law.
He's great because he's so disgusting.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, Arthur comes in and he's like, oh, the cops are sniffing around. They're onto us. And he's like, don't worry about it. We're going to fix this motherfucker. And he's like drooling and shit. He's like wiping his mouth and stuff, like licking his lips and stuff. Anyway, he calls the cop, he calls the chief and it's basically like, telling him to back off of them.
And Slade even says, "Oh, I'm not worried about the cops. I'm worried about reporters."
Yeah.
And then we slam cut to this press conference that Robert Forster's kind of being forced to do from the chief to explain what's going on.
And he has no clue yet, and he's still putting everything together. So like, there's a bunch of muckrakers and shit there. In particular, that guy, what's his name? Kemp. Yeah, Kemp's there, and he's like busting his balls because there's this whole arc with Robert Forster, where like his partner was shot in this Baldwin hotel killing. The Baldwin incident!
I couldn't believe it.
We all know about the Baldwin incident.
I think that's what happened in Vampires, honestly. John Carpenter's Vampires, that might have been the Baldwin incident.
He held them up with the pennies? Yeah.
We'll get to it.
Yeah. I mean, we could just say it.
Yeah, let's talk about it, because it's kind of a crucial plot point throughout.
So, like, that whole Baldwin incident thing is a thing that, like, Robert Forster struggles with throughout the movie because he has, like, all these bad dreams and stuff about the incident. So later, he ends up meeting Robin Riker, and they have sex, and which we'll get to. And he tells her the whole story about how he was held up by this guy, and he made him give him his gun, and they gave him his gun, and then his partner was shot. Turns out the guy who held him up was just a roll of pennies. They took his gun and then shot his partner with his gun, and they got away.
And then he basically has that kind of survivor's guilt, and that he gets blamed for it, and no one trusts him throughout the film.
No,
the other cops.
Yeah, because he was working in St. Louis and then has moved to Chicago.
But yeah, so that's a thing that Kemp in particular keeps bringing up in this press conference, and Robert Forster's like, all right, I'm done. And then the chief's like, kind of like, from off camera.
No more questions. No further questions. We'll talk to you later. Bye.
They storm off.
Yeah.
And then, Robert Forster, he's like hot under the collar about the whole thing. And the chief's like, you gotta calm down. Don't worry about it. Just catch these people.
Sidney Lassick ends up in the fucking sewage plant, and they pull out his like Aloha shirt and his
leg, I think, right?
His whole leg is there. And they're like, oh yeah, the forensics found something weird. There was cat litter in his sock. And he's like,
Yes.
Because he's wearing like alligator wingtip shoes, and like because of all the clothes that he was wearing before that he saw him at the pet shop in.
So then they go back to like the police station, and I forget what character says this. It might have been one of the cops or the guys working at where they find his body make another comment about his hair.
Oh no, well, okay, so
because I didn't think it was going to be a running joke yet, so I was just like, well, someone else commented on it, but I can't remember the exact scenario.
I just want to mention this because he recruits
Kelly.
Yeah, Kelly, Perry Lang, who's in an episode of Tales from the Darkside and Monsters. So we're going to get to this. Double whammy. My Own Place he's in, where he's like this racist tenant of this, and there's like this Indian guy who's a ghost trying to force him out of his apartment, or coexist with him in the apartment.
Oh my God.
And then the other one is Holly's House from the Monsters series, which is great. He plays Lenny the mailman. Lenny Wiener.
Sounds pretty fun to me.
Oh, it's great.
They have a scene before Kelly agrees to go to work with him, though, where he's literally asking every cop in the station. One guy's like, I got too much paperwork. And he's like, what the hell? What do I gotta do?
Yeah, nobody wants to go into the sewer with him just to see what's been going on.
Yeah, and I think it's part of it is also they don't trust him because of the Baldwin incident.
It could have been that, yeah.
So Kelly's like, oh, I'll go, fuck it. Just get me some nice shoes, some
boots.
Some boots, because I just shined my shoes.
So yeah, he recruits Kelly, and then he like goes to check out, and he's like, hey, and the cop behind the counter like gives him the masks for the methane pockets.
Right, yeah.
He's like, yeah, you might have a methane pocket. And he's like, what's up with your hair? He's like, what are you talking about? He's like, you get a haircut? He's like, what? And he's like, you grow it out long, put it down, you swip it to the side, nobody will ever notice. Nobody, see what I'm doing? Nobody will ever notice, right?
I didn't notice until you pointed it out. Yeah, and then some like coked out like nut walks in. And he's like, I have a bomb.
He's like, hi, I got a bomb here. He's like, I'm gonna kill you all. I killed some guy
in the sewer.
Yeah, I'm the sewer killer or whatever.
Like, what?
And they're like, what's the matter, son? He's like, why'd you do it? He's like, they told me them people's on the radio.
Yeah, and then he gives the voices in my head. And so, like, they're trying to play it off because they see this, like, ticking, bomb as far as they think.
Kelly's ready to pull his gun out and just shoot the fucking guy in cold blood.
For it, and Robert Forster's like, Kelly? Kelly? So then Robert Forster's like, he's play acting. He's like, fuck this. I'm out of here. You guys figure this out.
I didn't even want to be a cop anyway, so I just left.
I wanted to be a priest. They made me a cop. So many weird one-liners.
I wanted a full head of hair, and then I got this. And then I got hair plugs. I don't know.
So then, like, the guy lets his guard down for a second. And Kelly and, like, another cop and Robert Forster all, like, grab him. And they literally defuse the bomb and find out it's literally a clock radio.
It's great. It's a fucking radio. Write this guy up. Get him out of here.
And the funny thing is, it's fucking foreshadowing for later. And there's a lot of that in this movie.
So that's another thing I wanted to... I mean, since we already got to one, but there are so many setups and payoffs in this, and it's so satisfying. And everything works together really, really well, and it's fun and interesting and just written really well.
I mean, there's another one coming up in the next scene. They go into the sewer.
Yeah.
And, they're walking through, obviously the audience knows what the fuck is up, but they don't.
No.
And they're walking around, and, they get to the methane pocket. And Robert Forster, they put the mask on, and he makes a comment. Hey, don't light a match. Don't do it. Don't create a spark. Don't, fire a gun. It'll be a massive explosion.
I saw it in St. Louis. Blew up the whole fucking street, kiddo. Don't light a match.
He's like, okay, whatever you say, man.
He's like, I got chewing tobacco, dude. I don't smoke.
So then they find, the alligator's fucking kill hole.
Well, yes and no.
Or where it lives.
Like, it's there.
Yeah.
And then they're just like bullshitting. This is such like an abrupt like scare. It's great. They're like bullshitting around. They're walking around a corner. They're having a conversation, and this fucking thing pops out at Kelly, and he's like starts shooting at it.
Oh yeah. Well, first they do have a kind of a tense moment where Robert Forster doesn't know where Kelly went.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And he's like freaked the fuck out. But yeah, you're right. He pops out at Kelly. He's firing the gun, which we find out doesn't work ever in this movie.
No.
And they're booking it. They're booking it back to where they came in. And they make it to the ladder, but it's fucking stuck. They can't get out of the manhole.
Well, the manhole's closed. Oh, I just want to note one more thing. There's a great scene where Kelly pulls out the map and he puts his flashlight in his arm, and I haven't seen it done before this. I can't recall a movie that's done it before this. I know a bunch of movies after, but like he puts this flashlight in his arm and it shines behind him, and you just catch that glimpse of the fucking gator head.
That was so good.
It's great.
This movie does an amazing job of teasing the monster. Unlike Godzilla, sometimes yes, sometimes not. It's more because it's a giant lizard.
Sure.
But great job. Like you don't really even get a good like full body shot of him until almost an hour into the movie.
Yeah.
But then it's like, you know, you see it full body shot the rest of the film, but
Well,
you
a
get
couple
stuff
times.
like a decent amount.
Yeah.
But yeah, you get a lot of like quick shots of the snout, or like you just said, in the background.
Yeah, but yeah, the mouth comes out and they're running down the sewer tunnel and they're trying to get out, like you said, and they can't get it open for whatever reason. So Kelly
literally eats it,
and it's like shit. Here's Robert Forster's character again, another one of his partners that he put in direct danger and he couldn't save.
I know.
Right, and he's like trying to pull the guy up. The gator comes because there's not enough room for him to like get up high enough, and the gator just bites his legs and drags him out into the tunnel.
Well, then Robert Forster literally blacks out.
He blacks the fuck out, and then he wakes up in a hospital bed.
Oh, alligator!
He turns into a were-alligator,
Oh my God.
and Jack is there, and he asks him for a piece of toast. No, that doesn't happen.
Imagine if it did, though. Yeah, he wakes up. The nurse is like, "Yeah, you kept yelling about alligators," and he's immediately like throwing his clothes on. He's like, "I gotta get back to the station. Kelly's fucking gone. I gotta get down there. I brought this young guy down with me, and he's possibly dead. I gotta get down there."
Yeah. Well, Griffin Dune is definitely in the other room next to him talking to David Naughton for sure.
It's definitely a possibility. So then, the chief shows up and he says, "Yeah, you gotta rest. And then before he can even react to that, fucking Kemp walks in all sly as shit.
Kemp comes in and like just hits him where it hurts. He's like, "Oh, another one of your partners died? Another one of your partners died there, kiddo?"
And he's like, "How the hell do you even know that? We don't even know." Or he basically like deflects. He's like, "Shut the fuck up, Kemp."
So they don't know what's going on yet. And so they go out and he tells the chief that it's an alligator. He's like, "What are you, an alligator? You're crazy." And Kemp ends up getting like the skinny from one of the nurses that it was an alligator. So Robert Forster and the chief go down to meet Robin Riker, the step monster herself.
Oh,
yeah.
Haven't seen it.
It's great. We talked about it on the Snapper episode with John Campapiano.
I know it's one that is
definitely
on the docket.
One of its favorites. Would love to have him on the show for that.
Yes.
I can't wait to talk about it.
Me too, and I've never seen it. I've seen the cover.
Also a Roger Corman production.
There you go. So yeah, this character is Dr. Marissa Kendall, and she's kind of explaining to them, because he's like stuck on this alligator thing, and he's talking about how big he thinks it is, 20, 30, 40 feet. He's not sure. It's gigantic is the point.
Yeah.
She's like, well, the longest they would ever get is maybe like 20 feet, and that's like if they're really old.
In the wild.
Yeah.
So she's a herpetologist.
Because she even has a snake. She's like getting some venom out of it.
She's milking it.
Yeah.
She basically says like that's impossible for it to live in the sewers because of all the gases that are down there, the lack of food, the lack of sunlight. Like even in captivity, they don't get that big. There's no fucking way, dude.
But she doesn't know about all these dogs getting dropped in there, and these
dead
dog, pets. These
experimental testosterone hormone enhancing steroid things.
As we find out later.
Yeah.
Well, I guess we have an inkling with that giant dog that was a puppy a month or two back.
It was bigger than 15 feet, Robin Riker. She's like, you're crazy, Robert Forster, you handsome motherfucker. I don't care that you have hair plugs. You're so handsome.
Well, then he finds like a book. Doesn't look at the back where you can see it as an audience member that it's obviously her book. And he's like, "Can I borrow this?" It's like about alligators.
Yeah.
"Oh, yeah, you can have it." And he just leaves. He's like, "You don't blame me? Fuck you." And he gets the hell out of there.
I wonder if it's a real book. I saw the cover. It said The Last Dinosaur on it.
Oh,
maybe.
That's kind of an interesting angle. Maybe it was. Maybe just the slipcover was different to make it look like she wrote it.
Yeah, much like sharks, I think they're one of the only animals that hasn't changed much since that time period.
Maybe got smaller.
Maybe got smaller, yeah.
Not this one.
No. So they're driving in the car together, him and the chief, and they find out that like it's impossible that the alligator could be that big from Robin Riker. And like they're like making fun of her because she likes playing with snakes or some shit.
It's weird.
And Robert Forster's like, "Yeah, she plays with snakes or whatever." He's like,
"I didn't say she was normal. I said she had the worried on the fucking alligators there."
Maybe it was a big brown snake or something, like the monster in the closet.
It could have been a big brown snake. We're not sure.
Oh, yeah. So then they go back to the station, and now all of a sudden, Kemp's already got a goddamn front page article out about his other partner possibly dying, and the other cops, again, maybe I think I got this right. They don't trust him, so they're reading it aloud. They don't give a shit.
Dude, they got him good. That Kemp guy got him good because like he dredged up the old story about the Baldwin Hotel incident, and then like chalk this up to like him being a bad cop. And like every partner that he partners up with is going to die or something bad happens to them.
Well, and it's not only are they reading the article aloud, but they're also in like the locker room.
They're in the locker room, yeah.
They put a fucking rubber alligator in his locker.
Yeah.
And no one reacts. It's hazing like nobody's business, but it's like very low key.
Yeah, but to your point that you just said, like nobody wants to do anything with this guy. They don't want to go out and like be his partner or work with him at all.
Especially if the one guy that signed up is now dead or missing.
And he's like the main guy for homicide.
Yeah.
In the precinct. So like I said before, the nurse just spills the fucking beans to Kemp about that, Robert Forster saw an alligator and he's like, oh, he's on pills? She's like, yeah, meds, he was on a bunch of pills, said something about alligators or whatever. And he's like, okay. So this scumbag goes down to the sewer.
This makes you think of Chud.
Yeah.
Same kind of thing, some asshole going down that'll try to prove a point.
If there was ever a war in the MDU, I would want to see a Chud riding the mutated alligator. That would be amazing.
I would love that.
That'd be great. And Daniel Stern's there to fight him, right? So he goes down to the sewers, and there's like a boot down there that he like props up, and he's like taking pictures because he's obviously gonna like blow this up and be like, oh, an alligator! Oh, alligators in the sewers! Yeah. Stupid.
He hears a massive growl in the distance, and instead of just saying, oh shit, maybe I should just leave, let me go check that out. What is that?
This scene is excellent. So the gator like bum rushes him, and he's got his camera. And he sees the dog too. One of the dogs.
Yes, because everyone always ends up back in this like kill area with the blockage with the cart where Gutchell got killed.
Right. And as the gator's coming at him, he's like death spasming and the camera's firing off, but like he drops his flashlight and everything gets dark. And you see him die by the flash of the camera. It's really fucking cool. They just like keep going off. It's really awesome.
So then they find his camera, of course, and they're like, man, how the hell do you take this many pictures while being eaten alive? I was like, as annoying as Kemp was, I give him props. Yeah, why not?
Fucking Porkins walks out from...
Is that who that is?
No, but like in Hardware, Porkins plays like this creep that lives across the street and like takes pictures of women through their windows and stuff. He looks like him, kind of.
Okay.
Anyway.
Yeah, so he's, that guy makes that comment, and then
the wibbly-wobbly ones.
Robert Forster's like, well, all he really wanted was a front page story, and he got it. Cut to the fucking newspaper with the pictures of the alligator.
It's such a good, subtle joke.
Yeah. Very dry humor. Like, even though it's funny, it's like the way he delivers it is very dry.
Well, dude, he fucking develops the pictures, and he shows the chief, and it's just like a giant alligator mouth, and then like an eye, and all this shit, and like him getting like eaten. And he's like, you believe me now? He's like, son of a bitch, that's a big alligator.
Well, and then we have Robert Forster. He's looking through that book, kind of just flipping through it. And I love the quick visual gag of his puppy with the head inside the Chinese food container.
Yeah. Because he's just feeding this dog like anything.
Yeah, well, it's named Snacks. Why not?
Snacks.
Gives him something ridiculous out of the fridge later.
Corned beef hash in a can.
Okay.
Who hash?
Yeah, would you like this?
Here you go, kiddo.
He's flipping through it, and he's like, alligators. Okay, yeah. He gets to the back, and he finally sees, Marissa Kendall. Shit.
Figures. So then he like is plotting, like he's got a big map out and he's watching TV, and now that the secret's out or the photos are out in the paper, Robin Riker's on television, and they're like, there's a giant alligator in the fucking sewers of Chicago. And she's like, it's definitely an alligator, but it's not a big alligator. And he turns off the fucking TV.
We definitely have the whole thing, too, with all the different news reports making people panic about it.
Oh, yeah. Oh, big time. But if you look in the background, there's a Ramón Santiago poster.
I saw that, which was kind of... Is there a reason behind that?
So, yeah, it's a bigger reason than I thought. So I thought it was just like... I thought it was juxtaposition of the scene where it was like, here's the Ramón poster in the background, here's Robin Riker's character, and that's the connection that we're going to make because Ramón was her... Spoilers, Ramón is her alligator that her dad flushed down the fucking toilet.
Which she never makes that realization, but it's obvious to us.
It's very obvious. Written, like, superbly.
Yeah.
But I thought it was just to do that. But it turns out that Robert Forster was friends with Ramón Santiago, who was an artist. So that's why there's all his posters hanging up in his apartment, and why John Sayles wrote the character of the alligator to be Ramón.
I'm into that. It feels a little on the nose, but when you tell me that backstory, I'm like, okay, that's actually kind of cool.
It's like a little bit more complicated than I thought. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I just figured, the gator's Ramón. Yeah, fuck it, put it up.
I thought it was just like a clever set dressing, visual storytelling kind of thing. Maybe it is both.
In fact, I have to mention this specifically about like the reports that are going through because I thought it was hilarious. The mayor gets interviewed. He's like, yeah, we're getting everyone to look for this alligator. I called in the National Guard. We got the SWAT team. He's like, I spare no expense. And I'm like, all right, I know Jurassic Park's like a few years later, but that cracked me up.
We're doing all we can to stop this alligator.
Want some Jell-O, Joe? Ice cream, maybe?
What?
John Hammond when he's talking to Laura Dern. I don't know. Made sense in my head.
Can you see the flea? Can't you see the alligators, mommy? Can't you? Okay.
Yeah. Right. The flea circus.
Yeah. I wanted something they could feel and touch, like a giant monster that'll rip them apart.
So then they send this fucking SWAT team into the sewer.
Dude, there's like it's a hup for sure. But they have like a whole SWAT team, and like some of these cops just have like rocket launchers and shit that they pull out.
Okay, so they show multiple entrances, like manholes that these different SWAT and National Guard, whatever, army people with machine guns go into, and they have the big outside drainage pipe entrance where there's like 20 cop cars, like you said. They got rocket launchers, machine guns. They got like every weapon you can think of, nets.
They put cops stationed at like all the entrances to push. They want to push the alligator to this one central spot.
But then, like, Marissa even says, well, you really don't want to corner it because then it'll kind of freak out. And I'm like, that's exactly what they're doing, though.
Yeah, well, she shows up she's there to, like, apologize to him and be like, see if she can help at all, because she's like, yeah, it was an alligator, I'm sorry, or whatever. And he's like, okay, don't lose any sleep about it.
And he's got the map that he was doing because it's got, like, a laminate on it. And it's, like, blown up, and he's got it hung up. Like, this is kind of, like, the 1 or 2 square miles where it should show up.
Yeah, well, into that one place where they're gonna push it to. So then here we get Robin Riker. It's like, I had an alligator when I was a kid. His name was Ramón, and then my dad flushed me out of the toilet because he's a fucking asshole. And Robert Forster's like, that's great. Shut up.
Well, then we get all these.
She is totally smitten by him, by the way.
Yeah.
Like she's like, he's so handsome.
I mean,
he is handsome.
It feels like a bit of a stereotype to me, not necessarily in a bad way, but like she's like the nerdy scientist. Maybe doesn't get a lot of attention. They play up the whole thing. She lives with her parent or her mother, rather.
She's also younger than him, and he's like, anybody younger than me is a kid. She's like, I'm not a child, or I'm not a kid, or whatever. I'm like, yeah, we know. You're gonna fuck her in a little while.
She's got beautiful tits, Joe.
She's got a great mind, beautiful tits.
That's a line from the movie, by the way, in case you're confused.
A doctorate, and she's a herpetologist, world-renowned.
Yeah. So then these guys go in, they're like slamming garbage cans, making as much noise as possible. Yeah. And we basically go to like night. We see the gator moving around a bit. We see the tail move in the water, but nothing. They don't find it.
Well, they pass it. It's like hiding away from them. So they totally miss it, and they end up pushing nothing out, and they all come together at the one spot where they all meet. Now, you touched on the mayor, so we see him like right before they walk out, and this whole scene happens. It's Jack Carter, and he's in an episode of Tales from the Darkside, which we're gonna get to.
Man, all these Darkside people.
I saw him, and I was like, "Fuck! I know that you're in a Darkside." So I looked it up, and he plays Klaatu, who's an alien in this weird ass. Towards the end of the series, Tales from Darkside like takes a big decline, and we'll get there. But there's this like I Love Lucy spoof episode. Anyway, he plays this alien called Gazzo, and he drinks ammonia, but he calls it Monime.
Nice name, Monini.
Klaatu, is that like a Day the Earth Stood Still,
I think
or
it's
like Twilight Zone thing?
Yeah, I think it's like an alluding to that, like a joke.
Okay.
And
sure.
There's like a button. There's like a remote that freezes their kid, and they can't unfreeze him.
Adam Sandler, you son of a bitch! You ripped it off like that's an original idea that no one else has ever had. Click. It's actually a pretty good movie.
So they miss it. So the chief's like, let's get out of here. They're gonna be questioning us. There's a press conference tomorrow. Sorry, we didn't show the alligator. Bye. And then this is such a great scene because they're driving away. And there's these kids like playing stickball on the street, and then she's like, "Get out of the way, you fucking bastards!" And he like puts the siren on,
just
top,
to speed past
just to fuck with them. So they're about to play the game, and the fucking alligator breaks through the street. Like, its head completely breaks the street open, and it crawls out. It's awesome.
Guess who's coming to get you, Joe? And he doesn't have a machete this time.
Oh no! Is he Big Ben?
It's Kane Hodder. It could be Big Ben.
Is it Metal Beast?
It could be the gorilla from House 2. I don't know, but it is Kane. In theory, again, it's an uncredited.
Is it Leatherface?
Any one of those. Take your pick. Chainsaw, machete. Go down a damn line. I don't know if he's in this scene, but I like to think it's him as this thing crashes out of the ground and starts terrorizing everybody. And oh my God, does this freaking alligator look amazing? Not to keep going back to that, but
it looks so good. But just real quick, I read Kane Hodder was credited on the second movie. He's uncredited in the first one?
Again, according to Wikipedia, I know we kind of have gone back and forth on that on this show, if it's accurate or not, but sure.
I mean, it could be.
I'd like
well
to
be.
pretend it is.
I like to put them both out there just in case.
Sure. And this thing starts running around the town.
Oh man, so this is the first we get. So it's a practical head that busts through the street, but then it's a miniature set.
Oh.
And then a real alligator crawls out of the hole.
It looks great.
Now, it's not a full-size alligator. This is what I was saying before. It's a juvenile alligator, so it's not as big as a full-grown one, which is probably like 15 to 20 feet-ish.
When you mentioned that earlier, I assumed you meant like the two babies that we see.
No. Like, it's a juvenile, meaning like it's, I don't know.
So big.
6 or 7 feet long?
I would never have known.
Because if they had to build it to a scale of, 12 or 20 or however, I don't fucking know.
Way more work.
I don't know how big the alligators get full grown, but like it would have been they would have had to have bigger sets.
Yeah.
So this was like small,
It looks good. I mean, you can kind of tell they're miniature sets, but like it's not bad. They look amazing.
There's maybe one scene where it looks kind of dodgy, but like for the most part, it looks amazing.
Yeah. So this thing's like running down the street. All the kids book it. We have this one kid in particular that's like hiding in the doorway, a glass doorway, and he sees a cop come up. This cop is an idiot, by the way. This is like reminds me of Rawhead Rex when that cop just randomly crashes his car.
He puts a siren on and he goes to he's like going. I don't know where he's going. I guess he's going to see the alligator. But there's kids running down the street, so he turns off the road and just smashes into this fucking car, and it explodes. But then he's fine. In the car, like it flips over and he's like, "Oh shit!" But the door won't open.
Right.
So he crawls out the window, and this big alligator. You see, it's like I love this shot, by the way.
Oh yeah, from like the ground.
Yeah, it's very. It reminds me of like American Werewolf in London. You know what I mean? Where like it's the shot by the head, like going after people, or like the close up of just the head going after people.
And you're now getting that full alligator. You're seeing it in all its glory, and it chomps the shit out of this guy. Bites his fucking leg off.
Rips his fucking leg off.
And this little kid sees this all happen.
Little Joey.
He fucking runs upstairs. He's like, Mom, the alligator. She's on the phone drinking a beer. Like, yeah, shut the fuck up.
He's like, he's driving me nuts. He took my knife.
He takes a massive knife. He's like, I have a fruit knife. He runs out. I don't know what he thought he was going to do. The cop's already dead.
Protect himself, I don't know.
And then, now people know something's bad because a gator's walking around killing people.
The shit hits the fan. It exploded out of the fucking ground and ate a cop's leg. Like... it's real.
Yeah. And I mean, honestly, there was a giant explosion from a car crash that could have been avoided if you weren't going 90 in a 15-mile-an-hour zone.
So Robert Forster and Robert Riker show up and they're talking to the chief and he's like, it'll go for water. And he's like, what? Water? We got water all over the place. We got canals, we got rivers, how about that lake over there? But I never think to fucking look in the lake until the next day.
It goes right in the lake. It literally walks right in it the next scene. Which then the lake stuff kind of happens for a while.
Also looks awesome.
Yeah. We get like as the film goes on, like that's kind of the big area for like 15 minutes where they're focused on this alligator.
So they interview the kid and they're like, oh, how big was it? And he's like, an El Dorado? And he's like, the car? He's like, no, the refrigerator. And he's like, yeah, the car. It was as big as a car. And she's like, it's as big as a car? And he's like, but you got to add the tail, of course.
Yeah, right. The tail's got to be 10 or 15 feet.
Of course.
And this thing's damaging. It is always swiping at people, knocking them into stuff, destroying stuff with it.
It's really they had it on a big stick that they would like fucking swing around and like hit things with. Yeah, it was great.
Was it like he had silicone or rubber or something like that?
I think it was urethane rubber. Okay. I don't think we were using silicone yet.
Got you.
Maybe, I don't know.
Like not to that extent, maybe though.
No.
Okay. So then they find a footprint after that because they're like, 30 or 40 feet. I don't know about that. And this is like the next morning, and they're like,
Down by the
"Holy
lake,
shit, this is a giant footprint, it's like dinosaur size."
I love how like Robin Riker has like little plaster on her face and stuff to like just to let you know that she's taking a plaster cast, even though we're doing that right in front of you.
Yeah.
You know? So yeah, we get fucking Jungle Jim showing up now. Henry Silva as
Colonel Brock,
this
this big game hunter who is so up his own ass, it's his head's coming out of his neck. And this is obviously a guy who's some scumbag, killing elephants and lions in Africa.
Yeah, he's like the big game. He's like the Craven the Hunter of this fucking universe.
He wishes he was Craven the Hunter, for fuck's sakes.
He's hunted everything.
He'd be
right?
riding that damn alligator at that
Probably,
point.
right? Put the bit in its mouth and just run it down fucking Main Street.
We'd been better off getting fucking Steve Irwin with the way this guy works. Imagine Steve Irwin rolling around with
look at that crocodile!
Whoa, it's a death row! Hold on! No! God, I would have loved that.
Is that McConaughey?
It kind of turned into it at the end. I guess I can do a McConaughey. I guess I made a liar out of myself. I had to start with Steve Irwin. I had to get there.
Steve Googly, the alligator hunter.
Yeah. But yeah, this guy's a scumbag because he is just... he doesn't do anything that bad. He is just very much
He's a fucking douche.
He's just hitting on people constantly.
He's like, yeah, who's this beautiful woman? Hey, excuse me, Robert Forster, why don't you go fuck off? This is my job now.
I love how he's like, basically, oh, you're a scientist. Why are you out here, lady? And she like isn't having it, like throws it right back in his face.
Absolutely beautiful.
But so then he goes to his next victim, the fucking reporter, and he's like hitting on her. He's like, yeah, I'll take care of this. Nothing to worry about. Meanwhile, they don't just call that guy in. There's boats out there dropping grenades and dynamite into the water.
He's talking to this reporter, and he's like, yeah, they make a sound like this. And you know what that is? That's an alligator baby that's calling for the mom. And she's like, oh, really? That's so fascinating. What do they sound like when they're in heat or whatever? Like when they want to mate? Do they have a mating call?
And he's like,
that the alligator is a very romantic animal. When they get fucking hot and bothered in the spring, baby, they sound like this.
Again, I haven't seen this in a while, so I was fully expecting him to do that and the thing to just come out and start rampaging.
Imagine if it runs up on land and just fucks him.
Yeah, oh my God. Makes me think of like the Eric Andre movie.
Makes me think of Lake Placid.
Well, yeah. So that we also get all these like vendors selling alligator shit that we were joking about earlier.
Great.
Because of course, just like in Jaws, I mean, and anything else that would happen. I mean, even the most recent Texas Chainsaw that came out, they even had the whole like, get your own Leatherface mask or like chainsaw keychain.
Yeah. Well, and again, I love this shit, and it's like it's just like capitalism at its finest.
Mm-hmm.
And this guy's got a sign that says like Alexander the Alligator, and I'm like, what the? It should have said Ramón.
Well, they don't know that.
Well,
maybe they should.
Legally distinct, differently alligator
Yes.
that they can make a buck
Yes.
off of. Yeah, right.
I love how this one guy is like,
Won't take a bite out of your wallet there, Sean. Want to buy this fucking plush toy of an alligator?
well, no, but we have a guy who's got a literal baby one. They probably used to use this baby one 3 times throughout the film, but I mean, why not? And Robert Forster's like, arrest this guy. Why? He's just being a fucking creep.
He's like,
Get him on animal cruelty or something. I don't care.
He's like, bust this guy for being a creep. He's like, it's attack on the free enterprise system, you communist.
Yeah, it's kind of great.
I love the guy with the shaking alligator. He's like, watch him wiggle, watch them shake, bring them home, they make you giggle or whatever.
Oh my God. So then we go to the lab, and they're doing a little blood work. They're checking out what the hell is making this alligator so big.
There's this fucking scene where Robert Forster comes in, and he's like right in the beginning, and he's like, you gotta help me. He's like, I'll buy you a fucking iguana or something if you help me. And she's like, fine, okay.
So then she gets to slide under a microscope, and it immediately looks weird.
Is this a blood test from one of the dogs? It's gotta be.
I think that makes sense. Yeah, like around like where the bite would be.
Or was it from some of the shit that they found?
They find a pile of shit in an alley.
Yeah.
Either way, they're testing it, and that's where they realize there was this hormone in it.
Yeah.
And that's probably what caused it to get so big.
Yeah, there's like these blue things in it that it's some kind of synthetic steroid or some shit, she says.
Oh, right. And they just kind of hypothesize from it being in the sewer.
He's like, what does that do? And he's like, well, you could say that it makes little dogs into big dogs, Sean. And then it's like, all right, we're going back to the fucking the lab.
Oh yeah, and then we actually get a pretty cool helicopter shot. I really appreciated where they're trying to find the gator, kind of in between these scenes.
Yeah,
and they do pass over it, but it's in the swimming pool now.
It's great. It's great because like it's in the swimming pool, but there's like pool toys and some leaves
Covering
and shit. Yeah. That cutscene I mentioned, the TV cut.
Yeah.
That's in this montage.
Oh, okay.
Or in this part of the movie where like the helicopter's flying over and then like we cut to a backyard and like the fence is like knocked down and shit like that.
Right.
With the little girl.
So then they go to the lab, like you were saying, and they're interviewing Arthur, like, hey, what the fuck? And he's like, well, that's like, we don't do that anymore. It made the animals hunger insatiable.
What are you doing to this cow? And he's like, a calf? It's a calf. And he's like, that's one big fucking calf. He's like, yeah, well, we're making a hormone that grows cows bigger, faster for the shortness, the food supply is low or some shit.
Yeah, I'm thinking about this as I was watching it. It just came back to me. I wonder if the movie Tarantula had any influence on this, because that movie is they have like the bigger animals he's creating. That's why the tarantula gets gigantic.
Well, John Sayles was a big fan of like kaiju movies and giant monster movies and stuff like that, so makes sense.
Okay, yeah, it makes sense to me too.
Yeah, like you said, that you developed like this experimental testosterone hormone, and like you said, yeah, it like gives the animals like this insatiable appetite.
And makes them huge.
And well, no, now it's a cocktail of shit that they've pumped into these dogs that this alligator has eaten. So it's like this weird mixture of shit that's not only made it gigantic, but crazy and insatiable.
So then they, as soon as they're done interviewing him, Arthur runs to fucking, Slade. And Slade's like, okay, we'll have to take care of this.
What's this cop's name? All right, he's done now.
And he calls the fucking chief. And
I think he calls the mayor personally.
No, he calls the chief for
Does
sure.
he? Okay.
Right. Maybe you're right. He calls the mayor, and then the mayor calls the
because
chief.
we don't know that they're in cahoots yet.
Yeah, but this is the scene
shortly
that
after
it kind of confirms it.
Yeah.
Forster comes in. He's like, "I got it locked, baby. It's the fucking Slade Corporation. They're pumping the shit into the fucking sewers, and that's why the alligators are big." He's like,
David, you're fired.
David. Independence Day, guys.
Can you make me a woman?
Ma.
Mrs. Doubtfire, folks, come on.
But, so he gets fired. It's out of my hands.
It's out of my hands, David. I'm sorry, bye.
So then, on his way out, Robert Forster's like, fuck this. He goes in the evidence locker and just steals the fucking alarm clock from the earlier scene and some dynamite, like a fucking stack of dynamite.
And actually makes a bomb this time.
Yes.
Yeah.
So then he goes and he tells Marissa about this. He's like, I thought I'd get canned. I feel great. It's like, okay.
So he asks her for help again, and she's like, all right. So they go back to his apartment.
Right.
And she takes a shower. Oh, they go into the sewer. Excuse me.
They go with the guy that he interviewed earlier in the film who, like, was friends or co-workers with the other guy who was murdered.
He's basically just like, I'm going to go out there. I'm going to find that alligator, and I'm going to kick its ass. He does this fucking key trick that he catches this thing. Yeah.
Well, that's what they go down there, and they're looking around. They end up in that area we've mentioned a few times already.
Like, the place where like Gazzo was dumping the bodies and stuff.
And I love how they're kind of scoping it out, and thankfully the gator's not there, or else they'd really be up the creek. Because then she's walking down this like drain pipe past like the rubble. And sees like this weird like plant growth in the wall.
Well, it's like
in the pipe.
It's like a nest, and it's like the stash of its food that it saves for later.
I didn't realize that was a thing.
I'm pretty sure alligators.
I think it is. I didn't know that. And I was like, oh shit, there's like a half-eaten dog in there.
Save that guy for later.
Yeah. And that's when they're kind of like, that's when they fully are like confirming it. Like, okay, no, everything we're thinking is adding up exactly how we thought it would.
Yeah.
So then we actually get a scene of Slade and the mayor actually like walking and talking.
So then we get to the Slade mansion, and he's like setting up for
his wedding.
For his
wedding,
his daughter's wedding to Arthur. And you're right, the mayor's there, and he's pretty shaken up about it because he wants to he's like I'm getting real nervous about this whole deal, and he's like listen, we got 4 products that are being approved by the FDA, right? We can't fuck that up. We can't let this story get out. And if we go down, you go down. And he's like, oh God, because he's gearing up for the next election and shit.
Yeah. And then he goes, don't worry about it. My future son-in-law, he's got in charge.
He's my golden boy.
He's my number one guy.
Okay, so this is one of the scariest scenes that I can remember as a kid, because this used to freak me out, and for years I wouldn't go in a fucking pool at night because of this.
I get it. I totally get it.
So these kids are having a party, like a birthday party, and it's like a costume party, so they're all dressed up like pirates and shit, and this one kid's dressed as a cowboy, and they bring him outside to the pool, and there's a diving board. And they're like, oh, walk the plank, matey, blah, blah, blah. And he's screaming and he doesn't want to get, pushed in. And mom's calling and they're like, where are you? Whatever, Teddy or whatever. She flicks on the fucking light for the pool and the pool lights come on. And there's a giant alligator in the pool.
I mean, it's already fucked up enough, but the little boy sees it in there.
And then opens its mouth and the kid is still pushing him. And he's like, no, stop. And he pushes him right into the alligator's mouth. It's amazing.
I'm not necessarily an advocate for stuff like this, but when you see it in horror movies especially, it's like, okay, they're not fucking around if they're taking a kid out.
The pool fills up with blood and they run away. And I'm pretty sure that was a Lewis Teague edition because he wanted to put like a scary scene in there.
That's kind of funny that scene, I distinctly remember that being that TV cut too.
Yeah. Oh, it's totally in the TV cut.
It's an iconic scene.
Yeah. That's the scene that like everybody remembers when it blows out of the ground. The pool scene and then the wedding scene.
Oh yeah,
those are the three big.
And maybe the final confrontation, but yeah, those three you just named are definitely the key moments. Mm-hmm. Then we kind of have more of this blossoming romance.
Yeah, they go back to his apartment or Robert Forster's apartment, and they're talking and stuff. And
this is where he gives Snacks the fucking food that in the can out of the fridge.
Robin Riker takes a shower.
Yes,
and. Unlike the detective in Valentine, he's a lot more smooth with this, right?
Yes.
He sits down on the couch and he's like, listen, I get really anxious, if I'm about to eat and I need to know if you're going to come back to my apartment. Are we going to fuck or what? I need to know before we go eat so I can relax while I'm eating. And she basically just kisses him and he's like, that's a yes.
In fact, they fuck before they go eating. Why not?
I mean, work up that appetite, baby. And that's where he drops the story about his partner and all that stuff to her.
And he makes a joke, don't make any more jokes about my hair. I'm very sensitive about it. It's pretty good.
She's touching his hair. And he's like, what are you doing? And she's like, what? And she's like, listen. He's like, listen, I got male pattern baldness and I'm really sensitive about it. And I don't want you to bring it up again.
That was the line. That's a great line.
Yeah.
Imagine like going into that scene, like, can I pull on them? Yeah, they're plugged in.
Just pops right out.
Hair plugs.
The look on his face if that happened, like
just shave it off at that point. I mean, there's so much.
Which he did do later.
Yeah.
So then we go to Colonel Buck, just kind of walking around town, just hiring some people outside a convenience store, like a Boca or something. Or bodega, excuse me.
He walks out of like a bodega with like a fucking bag of beer, and he recruits these three dudes just like on the street.
He's like, $10 each, and they're like,
a piece.
And then one guy's like, make it 20. He's like, all right.
You're gonna pay me 20, yeah.
He's like, you're the chief. So then they're going down into an alley. And this made me think of Roger Rabbit, which it's been done a million times. I don't know why I thought of Roger Rabbit, but they see the fucking shadow of the alligator.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's called Booger Alley or whatever. And he's like, some people have been hearing about like something breathing down there.
Oh, yeah.
So he's like, all right, give me my rifle because they hear like a growl. And they go down there and he's like, you all have to come with me. You're part of the hunting party or whatever. And they're like, what are you, fucking crazy? I'm not going down there.
Just the one guy who asked for $20 goes, but he's kind of keeping back a little.
Not in this jungle, mister. And they're like, we're going to go around. So he ends up going with the guy, or with the colonel,
Brock,
yeah, Brock,
and we see the alligator like hiding in garbage, the eyes opening and looking around.
It's so good. This thing is like nesting in garbage, and Brock walks up and he shoots it, and then you just hear him scream off camera, and then it's like this zoom in of one of the dudes, and we go back, and it's so great because it's this giant wide shot of the alley. And you see the entire alligator with Brock in his mouth, and he's just like fucking ripping him around and shit. It's so good.
He's like, yeah! Guy gets the fuck out of there.
He tries to help him and like shoot him, but the gun gets jammed or something. What's wrong? Gun jam?
Better off getting the hell out of Dodge.
Oh, okay. So now after now we're eating at the Chinese restaurant, and it's like I hate when couples sit on the same side of a booth together.
It only really makes sense if you're out with other people.
Exactly. That's the only time. The only time it's justified is when you're with another couple or other people and you want to sit next to your wife or your girlfriend or whatever. It's just or boyfriend or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's just like, why are we sitting on? You're not only are you taking up a whole fucking booth and not sitting on the other side, which pisses me off. Like, I couldn't imagine like eating and like talking to somebody like while I'm eating,
not
like
ideal.
this. You know what I mean?
I'll tell you why they did it. So they don't have to like cut too many times.
Because obviously, but like people in real life do that.
No, because then we have these two cops come in, that just so they can keep the angle on the cops and them. I think that's what the logic is. Sure. And they're like, because he's been fired, he doesn't know what the fuck's going on,
right?
And they're like, oh, hey, how you doing? And like, yeah, did you hear about Brock? They just found his body mutilated in an alley. He's like, wait, what? No, I didn't. And then, he's got the scoop.
Yeah, we just scraped him off the fucking ground.
Oh, yeah. So then Robert Forster,
he gets like upset about something, and he has, I don't know if he
he's
gets
like,
upset about his
don't try
partner.
to learn me don't try to get to know me too fast.
He's like, don't understand me too much.
Yeah.
And like totally turns her off. She gets up and like throws some money down on the table, and he's like, your mother's waiting for you. Like, get out of here.
Oh, yeah, because she calls her early and was like, I got meatloaf ready on the table. This mother character, we'll get to her shortly. She's kind of great.
We finally see one of Robert Forster's nightmares, and it's Kelly getting eaten by the alligator. And he like wakes up out of the sleep and stuff. So like there's another partner dead. There's a whole dimension to the character that I really like.
Yeah, and then he goes to Marissa's house and you meet her mother.
At like 3 a.m, right?
I'm expecting Joe Pesci to be walking in with De Niro and Ray Liotta. They're down the street. Mom's making lasagna for him after they have, got Billy Bats in the trunk down the road.
Big time.
And she's making him coffee. She's like, Marissa, wake up. She's a sleepyhead. My husband always used to save you. Sleep too much, you'll die early. But, he worked himself to death.
Oh, here's some coffee. Here's a cup of coffee. Oh, I found my rosary beads. I was looking for my rosary beads. Hey, did you know I have an evil eye? Is it this one or this one? And
I love it.
That's a great joke. But like, and it's all funny, and you think she's just like a fast talking, like funny woman. But like, it gets real serious now. In about 3 seconds, we see the state of her mental health because she's like, "You want some coffee?" And she just poured him coffee, and she's like, "Oh, you already got some? Make yourself at home, why don't you?" And it's like, oh.
She's completely broken. I mean, even in that opening scene when you see her with the father, she's very, or rather, he's very dismissive of her.
Sure.
She's kind of like lackadaisical. And yeah, she is just the definition of like a helicopter parent.
Well, yeah, but I feel like Robin Riker's there taking care of her.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
I could see that.
Yeah.
So then she wakes up and Robert Forster, he's like, I apologize. She's like, for what? Just think of something and I apologize for it. She's like, all right, well, let me show you my rock collection. They go in the other room. They're on the bed making out immediately. I'm like, nice rock collection.
Look, you're a herpetologist. You got a doctorate. You got beautiful tits. I'm just an asshole sometimes, and you're going to have to deal with it. Because you know what, Sean? Anything worth having is a problem. Or something.
I mean, I guess he's not totally wrong.
It's going to be trouble,
I like the way he lays this stuff on. It's consistent throughout, and it's like, if it was said in a different tone, like, fuck this guy, but he says it like, I don't know, it's like Robert Forster, like, tone, if that makes any sense.
Robert Forster. I can't even do a good Robert Forster voice.
It's just it's not monotone, but it's very neutral.
I don't know. I see what you're saying, though, like, in the way which it's obviously meant to be a joke, like, to her.
Yes.
And then so they make up or whatever and fuck with mom in the other room or something. And we cut back to the chief, and he's like, I don't want to talk to Madison. He's like, we got to find that alligator. And he turns around and some guy, he's like, he's not in the bushes.
It's back in the lake.
Oh, it's great. Oh, yeah.
Because we get more people trying to get this fucking alligator. Like more speedboats, more army guys with machine guns and grenades.
It's a whole Six Flags water show, man.
We're just missing the Lethal Weapon logo.
Because they're like gators. They're like shooting at it and dropping grenades in the water. At one point, a speedboat like hits the back of the alligator and launches off of it like a ramp onto land. And as they're chasing it, some guy pulls a grenade and drops it in the boat. So when it hits the land, it fucking explodes.
The driver's dead.
Oh, it's great.
A bunch of them fall in the water. One gets dragged down. Then another guy's swimming towards the boat, and he gets both of his feet basically bitten off.
Legs get bitten off. Yeah.
There's
a lot of actors and stunt guys in this that are missing one leg or like or paraplegic.
I love that stuff. Like, why not?
No, sure.
It makes me think of much later. This movie.
It's an easy way to pull off the effect.
Yes, Spider-Man 3 had that. I don't know, a weird movie to go to, but with when he has the scene where he punches Sandman, they had a guy who had, I think it was like a cleft hand or no hand or something like that. I like that stuff.
Yeah.
Zombie movies do it a lot too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But now Robert Forster and Marissa are driving. They're on their way to where they think the gator is. But they come past this carnage. They get out of the car and they're like checking on it, like, oh fuck. The gator left the lake. Like, we got to get moving. Like, this is about to go down, like in a bad way.
Yeah, he's like, where did it go? And the cop's like, oh, it went that way. And they're like, to the Slade Mansion. That's where it's on its way to. And I'm like, wait a second. Does this thing have like a revenge plot.
Yeah, Alligator, the revenge.
I'm fine with it either way. I think the canal just like went that way.
Yeah, it is a little dumb, but
Yeah.
I'm totally okay with it because this next scene is insane. Because we go
The
to
fucking climax of the movie.
Yeah, we go to this wedding. I think it's kind of hilarious. I mean, wear whatever the fuck you want on your wedding. I don't care. But the daughter is wearing like this like really short dress, and you can see like the pantyhose and everything. I'm like, all right, whatever.
Slade is cooking steaks on a fucking grill, and I'm like, this guy's cooking during his daughter's wedding, and he's
like a millionaire.
Yeah, he's telling these two idiots about like he's like, I used to go out and I cut down a hickory tree and I'd soak it in the water, and the mayor's there, and he goes hickory, huh? Like he's clearly not talking to him, but he's like on his side.
He's trying
and
to
he's
like third wheel.
He's like, yeah, whatever. And he's like, anyway, so I put on a charcoal. He's like, oh, charcoal, huh? And he's like, and then I put the steaks on the grill, and then it's really good.
And then you see it's a great shot, like a panning shot of like the smoke from the steaks going into like the bushes.
Yeah,
and the gator's like,
it just bum rushes the people, and it like eats a maid.
Oh my god! I love though they kind of tease you with this because the whole movie you're expecting all this animal like death, like oh man, this poodle's gonna eat it. The poodle gets the fuck out of Dodge.
It runs away,
and then like you said, it eats the maid. It's kind of shitty that a lot of the people working there get killed and not all these like asshole millionaires.
The help, yeah.
But those people get knocked in the pool. The daughter gets knocked in the pool. Dad doesn't give a shit. He's just booking it.
The fucking tail is swinging. People are getting smacked. One guy gets smacked into the wedding cake. This thing is flipping tables with its head and like eating people.
Eats Arthur.
It sure does.
Fuck him.
Yeah,
Thank God.
Yeah.
And then like I just said, Dad goes and runs away. Mr. Slade, Mr. Yeager, and he locks himself in his limo. And the mayor's like, "Come on, let me in." And he's like, "Fuck that."
He locks him out of the limo only to not drive away.
That was weird, but whatever.
Whatever. It's a weird sequence, but I like it.
Same.
Gator comes up, grabs the mayor, and he's like slamming him against the limo door.
Yeah.
And then he just dies and just drops him out of his mouth.
Yeah, and the driver is like enamored, like can't get his eyes off it, like literally watching a train wreck.
Yeah,
and
drive away.
Yeah, Slade keeps saying that. Drive. Finally, he puts his hands on the wheel, and the gator's in front of him, smashing the shit out of the windshield with the tail.
The gator beats the car into a fucking pancake and kills Slade and the driver in the process. There's like a bloody leg hanging outside of the door.
It's a scene that is burned into my brain.
It's
Joe.
amazing because I don't think I've ever seen something do that either.
No,
you know,
I'm into it.
I mean, Jurassic Park and stuff like that, but like this guy, but like of just sitting there like smashing this car down.
It's great. And then, of course they're late, but then we won't get this great scene, so who cares? Robert Forster pulls up with Marissa, and I like this little joke where like the guy who's in charge of the gate won't let him in, and then fucking Robert Forster just pulls his service revolver on him.
Okay, I'm calling the cops. Do it. Call the cops.
Yeah. So they go in, they see the carnage, and they just ask someone who's running by, where'd it go?
Yeah.
And they track it down to like another sewer drain. I'm like, okay, it went home.
It went back into the storm drain that they thought it would.
Yeah.
So they run back.
Oh, because they say that's what it was. They're like, oh, it go that way when they meet those people by the boat, and it's like it's gonna go through whatever it has to get to the drain. Right. And they knew that was the Slade Mansion. That's what
so
it was.
Like going through the forest, that was the Slade Mansion property to the other side, which was the canal.
Exactly.
Now it makes sense. I'm sure John knew what he was doing when he wrote the scene.
Yes.
And I overlooked that.
Me too. I just had to think about it for a minute. So they're prepared to go in there. Like Robert Forster has his fucking bomb.
Fucking they run past, like before they leave to go do that, they run past the chief. He's like, David, I need your help, David. Come back to the force, David.
They don't even answer him. They
even
ignore
fucking
him.
look at him. But yeah, they go, him and Robin Riker go down into the sewer. And right before they go down, I just need to note this scene because it's fucking hilarious. They're going down into the sewer. And there's this old guy walking across the street with his walker, like looking at him like, "Hey, what are you, filming a movie or something?"
Random extra person. I guess don't take a second take. Maybe they just thought it was funny, and it was.
And they left it, and it was fine.
Yeah, old man in a robe with a walker. Why not? So yeah, he's the only one that goes down. Marissa gets back in the car.
That's right. You're right.
Which is important later. But he knows exactly what he's gonna do. I mean, he's gonna put the bomb by the methane, create the giant explosion, kill the alligator.
Yeah, but it's this is an excellent scene too because like he sees the gator, he like shoots it and like coerces it to kind of like come out, and I love this shot, this like this tracking shot, and there's like it's like in the sewer, and it's like a real alligator walking past these pillars and stuff.
Okay, that was the scene I was thinking of. Is that real or not?
Yo, yeah, it's awesome.
Because that was a really cool shot. And yeah, it's chasing them, which I guess that you could make some debate. Yeah, it's a fucking giant alligator movie. It's a little unrealistic. It's a stupid thing to say, but it's like alligators can fucking move. But whatever. And Robert Forster gets to like the methane area, and he's got the gas mask on, and he sets a 2-minute timer on the bomb. Well, unfortunately, the alligator hits him with his tail and knocks his gas mask off. So not only is he inhaling methane, but the visibility is shit. He can't find his flashlight. He doesn't know where the fuck he is.
He climbs to get out. So finally he regains his footing and climbs to get out, and he goes to push the manhole up, and this fucking old woman drives over the manhole because she's waiting for a garbage truck to leave.
Right.
And this is so hilarious because Robin Riker like is driving in the car. I don't know how she finds where he's at.
Maybe she knew where the methane pocket is.
They probably plotted it out. I'm sure they did. So she gets out of the car, and she's like, roll your window down. She's like, you gotta move. She's like, I can't, there's a garbage truck. She's like, back up. She's like, back up. What are you crazy? She's like, there's somebody underneath. And she's like, what are you talking about? Robin Riker opens the door and fucking shoves this woman to the other side of the car and pulls the car away so he can get out with like just a second to spare.
It's like 8 seconds left on the clock.
Yeah.
He gets it up, fucking jumps. He like basically dolphin dives just far enough away to not get hit by this explosion.
Something he picked up at the Baldwin Hotel, man.
At the incident?
Yeah, the incident.
Burned into the back of his brain. He saw that when the guy ran away with the pennies. He dolphin dove out a window. I think it was probably Baldwin.
We're still unsure. Right into a portal.
Yeah, probably out the window into a portal, and then he's back in John Hurt's car, traveling the universe, I guess.
So yeah, the gator blows up. The Bryan Cranston stuffed gator explodes in a shower of gore. It looks great. The fucking manholes are popping up all over the place. I think the car with the old lady in it explodes with her in it.
The one that blows up?
Yeah.
Why? I hope so. Not that old woman did anything wrong, to be fair, but sure, fuck it. One more casualty.
Like indirectly from the alligator?
Yeah, how the hell would she know? But yeah, it's great action and tension here at the end. And it kind of wraps up after. I mean, what else can you really do if you blow the fucking thing up?
The chief comes and like half-heartedly apologizes to David, and he's
here's your badge. Here's your badge bag. I always believed in you, kiddo.
and he's like, "Go fuck yourself."
Anyway, show up on Monday. There's a lot of paperwork for
Hey,
this.
is Robin Riker's mom doing anything later?
Right, and they're like talking, we should set them up. And she's like, yeah, she does have a thing for men that are balding and have high foreheads.
Just like it runs in the family.
Yeah.
Just one more jab at his fucking hair plugs.
Yeah, exactly.
It ends great, though, because they're looking down the manhole.
I love
this.
Like, this shot's amazing.
We did it. We killed it or whatever. And then the fireman like pulls the lid over, and then it just cuts to black and credits. And it's really excellent.
Well, you're forgetting a crucial part.
Oh, that's right. I forgot. The stinger.
Yes, we get, we do fade to black, like you just said, but we get that last shot. So zoom in on the drain from the beginning where the alligator came out from Marissa. And they make you wait for it, like a solid 10 seconds. Yeah. But right before it fades to black, that baby gator falls out and is looking around like, sequel?
We'll see you in Alligator 2, The Mutation.
And yeah, then it just, like you said, credits.
It's great. It's so good. Couple things. I didn't mention it before, but the alligator was supposed to be an albino alligator. And they didn't want to do it because they said it looked too fake because it was like, white colored.
That would have been cool, but I could see that.
But I'm glad they didn't make it albino because I think it would have killed the whole camouflage thing that they do a bunch of times in this movie, and it wouldn't have worked as well.
It would have to be a different film altogether.
Unless you were in the fucking snow, it wouldn't have worked.
Write that idea down. It gets transplanted, it gets flushed in Antarctica, somehow survives. There's probably an umbrella facility in there somewhere.
But yeah, so where are we putting this?
This is definitely on the shelf. I don't know why I hesitated. I got minor nitpicks with this, honestly. Like, it's like little shit. Like the romance, you know me, I'm not always crazy about that. It doesn't feel shoehorned. I don't love it, but I don't hate it either. Like, I'm kind of like, yeah, it works. And then just some little like things here or there that aren't even worth, like I just talked about. But it's like, I don't know, I think it's a really good movie. And if you haven't seen it somehow, if you're into this kind of stuff, like definitely look it up, get that Blu-ray. You got to see this movie. Like, I don't know if you like giant monster movies or large creature kind of movies with a good story, with good acting, with things that make sense in the movie as it progresses. It doesn't feel like they're jumping the shark. Like, everything in the universe makes sense. And it's a really good ride. I wouldn't go so far as to say it's a roller coaster. Like, the climax kind of turns into one, I guess. But, like, overall, it's very even in a good way. But once that gator, breaks out of the sewer, it's just all fucking bets are off, man. And I'm here for it. I like it a lot. It's a movie I've thought about a lot over the years, even before doing this show. Just watching on TV, man. Just, again, some of those scenes that you mentioned earlier that are just burned into anyone's head that's seen it.
Yeah.
Or seen it, the super cut if that's the route you want to go.
The TV cut.
Well, that too, possibly.
Either way.
I think you're doing yourself a disservice to watch a super cut of this or just to see the kills. I think you got to watch this movie in full to really get the full effect.
Oh, you mean like on YouTube?
Yeah, people do that sometimes. I'm just saying, like, if people out there have seen that, you're doing yourself a disservice. Yeah. But definitely see this movie if you haven't.
This is on the shelf 100%. This is the seminal nature run amok movie.
Yeah.
This is right up there with like Grizzly and Jaws and all the kinds of movies like that, or like Day of the Animals or something like that. It's one of the best. I think it is the best giant alligator / crocodile movie. And I really like Lake Placid, and I like Rogue a lot. Primeval's fine. Dark Age is something that I want to cover with you at some point. But this movie in particular hits all of those Corman kind of B-movie notes, but does them like with this beautiful display of craftsmanship, right? And the way that it's written, like John Sayles' script is like fucking amazing. Like, you could say that I don't give a fuck that he wrote this on a plane ride or whatever. Like, everything works so well, and it's almost genius. This is how you do this kind of movie, right? It's not just about the gore. It's not just about the alligator. It's about everybody else in the film, because all of the story arcs for all of these characters and the setups and the payoffs and all of the way that the movie plays out and how it ramps up from the beginning, of course. It's just paced really well. It's shot really well. The miniature effects in this are really good, and the practical effects are really good. Everybody's on point. Robin Riker's great. Robert Forster, of course, is great. The chief is great. What's his name? Garanzo?
I forget. I've seen Gazzo 2 a ton. I can't remember these names.
I forget.
He's great, though. Michael Gazzo, I believe it was.
I think it's that. Yeah. There's a lot of characters in this, and they're all kind of a big part of it, and there's a lot to keep up with, I guess is what I'm saying. But it's a hell of a ride. It's a really fun ride. And for a movie about a giant alligator transformed and mutated from experimental steroids, it's the best. It's top tier B movie for sure.
I would agree with that.
If you haven't seen this, grab the Shout Blu-ray because it's amazing. We've been waiting fans of the movie have been waiting a long time, but if you have slept on this or never saw it before, don't even hesitate. Just go grab it. I'm sure there's a link somewhere in the show notes that just go get it.
I will.
Yeah, and it's that's pretty much it for me. It's fantastic. It's one of my faves. Has been for a long time.
So what else we got coming up the rest of the month here, Joe?
Oh, we got some good stuff cooking. We're going. What do we did? We did Batman. We got Batman Forever. So go check that out if you haven't seen that yet.
The Diddler.
Oh, the Diddler gotcha. He sure did.
If you're very confused right now, you really missed a good one.
Unfortunately, yeah, go check it out. What do we got coming up? We got Leapin' Leprechaun. We got a twofer for St. Patrick's Day this year. We got Leapin' Leprechauns, the Moonbeam Classic with Grant Kramer from Killer Clowns.
Oh my god.
And then we're doing a full-length Leprechaun commentary track that's coming at you
with Lubby,
with Lubden. Oh,
our favorite, Mr. Lubden.
We got some other good stuff coming up on Patreon. We have a Rawhead Rex watch along.
Yes,
for Patreon. That is going to be amazing. That was the first episode we've ever did for the show. 5 years ago, almost now at this point.
Crazy.
Which is insane. So head over to Patreon, $5 or $10 tiers, get those commentary tracks, those watch-alongs that we do live with you. We sit and we watch the movie and commentate and talk to you guys and take questions and just have fun, together, having some beers and some laughs. It's a good time.
And for that $2 tier, you also get, we have a junk mail series where we go through our mail bags. You guys send us some stuff at our P.O. Box, which you can get in the description. It's either in the description or you could find it on our YouTube channel or just, look it up anywhere Movie Dumpster is. And you can also get mini-sodes for the $2 tier, which we put out a Scream 1981 last month, and we got a ton from last year.
Definitely not my favorite scary movie.
No. Well, go pay the $2. Find out. Ignore what we just said.
Yeah. And on those 5 or 10s, you get T-shirts, stickers, a pin, air freshener. You get a bunch of goodies too to go along with your patronage to the show, as well as those commentaries and watch along.
Yes.
Yeah.
So check that out. And as we always say, do us a solid, like the video, subscribe. Go on to your Apple Podcasts, your Spotify's, your Stitchers, whatever you listen to the show on. Give us that 5 stars. And if you got a few minutes, maybe a minute, I don't know how long it takes you to write a review, leave us one, please. It really helps.
It doesn't cost a damn dime.
No.
If you're watching this or you're listening to this, it takes 2 seconds. Go write a review and rate us and like us and do all that good stuff. And share it, why don't you? That'd be nice too. Tell your friends, tell everyone.
The dumpster keeps growing. We want to keep getting more people in here.
So that's it. That's Alligator from 1980, directed by Lewis Teague. I'm Joel Escola.
And I'm Sean O'Rourke.
Thanks for visiting the dumpster.